You may feel like you're trapped in a place with no way out, but let me tell you, your breakthrough is not waiting to happen. It's already been prepared. There are moments in life when the weight is too much, the wall's too high, the door's too locked, and the pain too loud. But just because you don't see the way doesn't mean there isn't one. Before you were ever pressed by this storm, before the enemy laid a trap, before you were ever misunderstood, overlooked, or underestimated, God had already gone ahead of you. He made a way through the sea before the waves ever parted. He provided the ram before Abraham ever lifted the knife. He spoke to the fire before the three were thrown into it. And today I came to tell you your breakthrough moment isn't pending, it's in motion. God is not reacting to your situation. He already prepared your deliverance before the problem ever reached you. This is not the end, this is the beginning of a shift. This is your breakthrough moment. You're standing in front of something that looks impossible. You've prayed, you've cried, you've waited, and it still feels like nothing is moving. You say, why do I still feel stuck? Why hasn't the door opened? Why haven't I seen the breakthrough I've been expecting? But let me tell you something that will shift your whole perspective. The way is not being made right now. It was made long before you ever arrived at this point. God didn't start preparing your deliverance when you cried out for help. He didn't begin to move when you finally reached your breaking point. He had already gone before you. He already mapped out your escape while you were still caught in the trap. He already carved out your miracle when you hadn't even noticed the mountain. We serve the one who doesn't start working when you see the problem. He finishes before it even begins. And when you think you're waiting on God, He's actually waiting on you to walk into what He already set in place. Can you imagine the Israelites standing at the Red Sea, frustrated, afraid, shouting in fear, saying, "Did you bring us out here to die?" But what they didn't know was this: before they ever left Egypt, the sea was already assigned to split. Before Pharaoh even changed his mind and came chasing after them, God had already scheduled the water to move. That's how God works. He doesn't panic when you're panicking. He doesn't adjust His plan when people turn against you, when jobs fall through, when friends betray, when doctors shake their heads. He's not scrambling to make a way. The way has already been made. And some of you are angry, you're tired, you're on the edge, you feel like nobody sees you. You've been doing everything you were told to do, you've been faithful, you've been praying, you've been pushing, and yet the struggle hasn't lifted. And now you're questioning everything. But what if I told you that the resistance is not proof that nothing is happening, but proof that everything is? What if your delay is because your steps are being orchestrated, not ignored? You're walking into rooms God already swept for your arrival. You're stepping on the paths that were carved out by hands you'll never see. Doors that look locked have hinges that already heard your name. The opposition thinks it's blocking you, but it's just redirecting you towards something greater. That's why you can have peace in the middle of the fire. That's why you can praise when there's nothing to see. That's why you can laugh when the enemy thought you'd be weeping. Because you're not walking blindly, you're walking into destiny that's already been touched by His power. You're not being ignored, you're being positioned. He goes before you, He breaks the ground before you step on it. He moves the danger before you even feel the threat. And the only reason the enemy keeps pressing you is because he knows you're closer than you realize. So stop thinking he's late. Stop thinking he's forgotten. Just because you don't see the shift doesn't mean it isn't happening. What's invisible to you is already complete in His realm. The way is not being made, it's already been made. All that's left now is for you to walk out. You've been waiting. You've been standing. You've been crying, and maybe you've been wondering, is this all for nothing? Because when the delay stretches on longer than you expected, longer than what makes sense, it starts to feel like the answer might be no. The silence becomes heavy, the waiting becomes painful, and if you're honest, starts to feel personal. You gave everything. You stepped out in faith. You believed. You changed. You sacrificed. You surrendered. And still nothing. No sign, no breakthrough, no reward. You've watched people pass you. You've seen others get the promotion, the healing, the testimony, and you're still stuck in the same place. It's frustrating. It's exhausting. It makes you want to throw your hands up and scream, why is it taking so long? But just because it hasn't happened yet does not mean it won't happen. Delay is not denial. And you've got to grab that truth like your life depends on it, because sometimes the enemy doesn't come for your joy or your finances, he comes for your hope. Because if he can convince you that the delay means you've been denied, he knows you'll stop pressing, stop believing, stop praying. But you've got to understand something. God is not bound by your schedule. He's not limited to your calendar. His timing is not late, it's perfect. And if you got what you were praying for when you first asked for it, you wouldn't have been ready to carry it. You would have mishandled it. The very thing you thought was a blessing would have become a burden. Think back. Think about the doors that didn't open, the people who left, the opportunities that slipped through your fingers. And now, from where you are, you realize it had to happen that way. If it came earlier, it would have crushed you. If they had stayed, they would have distracted you. If you had walked into that room too soon, you would have collapsed under the weight. So yes, God is taking his time, but not because he forgot. It's because he loves you too much to give you something half-baked. He's refining you in the delay. He's maturing you in the waiting. He's sharpening your discernment, stretching your faith, pulling the poison out of your heart, so when the breakthrough finally does come, you'll be ready to own it and keep it. Do you know how long Joseph waited in the prison after helping someone else get free? 2 full years. Do you know how long Moses was in the wilderness? 40. Do you know how long the companions of the past waited for victory while being mocked, attacked, and tested? They didn't get the victory because they were fast, they got it because they were faithful. And I need you to hear me because someone is close to giving up. Don't confuse silence with absence. Don't confuse the pause with punishment. Just because it hasn't arrived doesn't mean it's been denied. God knows what he's doing. He hasn't forgotten the promise. He hasn't thrown away the plan. He's not playing with your emotions. There's a set time. There's an appointed hour. There's a divine release with your name on it. And when it comes, when it finally arrives, you'll look back and laugh at every night you almost gave up, every tear you cried, every time you doubted, because you'll realize he was working the whole time. Behind every delay, there was purpose. Behind every silence, there was movement. Behind every not yet, there was a just wait. So breathe, wipe your tears, square your shoulders. The delay is not the end. It's just the part where God proves he's wiser than your timing. Delay is not denial. It's preparation dressed as patience. And if you wait well, you'll walk into something far greater than you could have ever built on your own. You thought that door was supposed to open. You were convinced it was yours. You stood in front of it with faith in your heart, with hope in your hands. You prayed over it. You fasted for it. You planned your life around what you believed was behind it. And then, without warning, without explanation, it slammed shut. And in that moment, something inside you cracked. You felt the sting of rejection, the confusion, the disbelief, maybe even the embarrassment, because you just knew that was the way forward. You had told people. You had envisioned it. And now you're standing in front of a locked door with nothing but questions and a soul full of frustration. But hear me clearly, a closed door is not a curse. It's not punishment. It's not proof that you're not worthy, not loved, not called. Sometimes a closed door is mercy in disguise. It's not a dead end. It's a divine redirection. And yes, it hurts. It's disappointing. It can even be infuriating when you don't understand why. You may be asking, if it wasn't for me, why did it look so right? Why did it feel so aligned? And the answer is this: not every open space is a safe space. Not everything that looks good to you is good to you. That opportunity might have looked like the blessing, but it could have broken you. That relationship felt like peace, but it would have poisoned your purpose. That job, that move, that open door, it wasn't aligned with the timing or the calling or the growth that your destiny required. See, you've been asking for breakthrough. You've been crying out for elevation. You've been praying for purpose. And sometimes the only way forward is through a door God didn't let you enter. Because he knew what was on the other side, and it would have delayed you more than it developed you. So he closed it. And yes, it's serious. This is not a minor moment. This is a hard issue, because closed doors can feel like betrayal, like abandonment. And if you're not careful, they'll plant bitterness in your spirit. But don't let the pain of a closed door blind you to the protection behind it. God doesn't close doors to hurt you. He closes to help you avoid the hurt you can't see yet. You might be angry. That's okay. Be angry, but don't be bitter. Be disappointed, but don't be defeated. Be confused, but don't be faithless. Because what you call a denial, heaven calls a detour. You're not lost. You're being led. And even when you don't understand it, you can trust the hand that closed it. Do you really think that the same God who gave you vision would abandon you at the entrance? Do you really think he brought you this far just to mock you? No, what looks like rejection is often redirection with divine intelligence. That door didn't open because something greater is waiting behind a door you haven't even seen yet. And one day you'll thank him for the door that didn't open. One day, with tears of joy, you'll say, God, I didn't see it then, but I see it now. That no was the beginning of my real yes. You'll laugh at the nights you begged for something that would have buried you. You'll rejoice for the reroutes you once resented. Because when the right door opens, it won't be by your pushing, it'll be by His timing, His wisdom, His design. So stop banging on what He's closed. Stop mourning what wasn't meant to last. He's not withholding good from you. He's positioning you for greater. And when the time is right, the door that opens will make sense of every door that didn't. The door you thought was the answer was just the setup for the one He had already chosen. And that's not rejection, that's redemption. There comes a moment when you've cried long enough. When you've waited in the hallway, stared at the closed door, begged for answers, pleaded for clarity, and now something in your soul begins to stir. You realize that waiting alone isn't going to bring the breakthrough. You've been asking for the walls to fall, but God is waiting on you to move. See, some of us have mistaken stillness for faith. We've sat in places we should have walked out of. We've tolerated things we should have shut down. We've waited for a sign when we already had the instruction. And then we wonder why nothing is changing, why nothing is breaking, why we're still stuck. But let me be real with you. Breakthrough begins when you step forward in obedience, not when you feel ready, not when it's easy, not when it makes sense, but when you choose to trust even when everything around you says not to. Look at the people of the past. The sea didn't split while they were standing there thinking about it. It didn't part while they were crying about the past. The moment their feet touched the edge, when they moved forward in obedience, even though the way looked blocked, that's when the waters move. There's something about obedience that activates the supernatural. There's something about moving forward when it's terrifying, when it's uncertain, when it costs you everything, that triggers the miracle that's been waiting on the other side. And yes, it's scary, it's real. Obedience doesn't come wrapped in trust. It doesn't come with guarantees. Sometimes it feels like walking blindfolded toward a cliff, trusting that the ground will rise to meet you. And the truth is, it's not always logical. Obedience can look foolish to the world. It can make people question your choices, laugh at your faith, whisper about your journey. But what they don't know is that your obedience is tied to your deliverance. It's the key that unlocks the next season. It's the bridge between your pain and your promise. And God doesn't ask for obedience because He needs it. He asks for it because you need it. He's not testing your strength, He's strengthening your trust. He's not delaying to hurt you, He's aligning your steps. Because sometimes the only way out is through. You have to walk through the fire to find the fourth person. You have to climb the mountain to see the ram caught in the thicket. You have to walk into the unknown before the provision appears. And let's be honest, some of us are angry. Angry because we feel like we've been doing all the right things but haven't seen the breakthrough. But maybe we've been doing the comfortable things, the familiar things, the things that look like obedience but are really avoidance in disguise. True obedience costs something. It requires a surrender of your will, your fears, your timeline, your logic. And that kind of surrender, it shakes your pride. It confronts your doubt. It breaks everything false in you until the only thing left is faith that walks. So today the question isn't, why hasn't God moved yet? The question is, why haven't you? Because when you take that step, when you finally decide to walk forward, even with trembling hands, even with tears in your eyes, that's when things begin to shift. He's already prepared the way. The walls are already trembling. The provision is already in place. But you've got to walk. Walk even when you're scared. Walk even when you're tired. Walk even when you don't understand. Because your obedience is the signal that you're ready not just for the promise, but for the responsibility of the promise. Breakthrough doesn't chase the hesitant, it meets the obedient. It shows up for the ones who say, even if I look crazy, even if I lose people, even if I don't see how I will move, because He said so. And when that happens, the atmosphere shifts, doors open, chains break, mountains move. Because you didn't wait for the miracle you walked into. You're carrying something that nobody else sees. A weight on your chest that you've gotten good at hiding. You smile in public, you laugh when people are watching, but inside, there's a pressure, a quiet storm building in the shadows of your heart. People think you're okay because you keep showing up, you keep performing, you keep pretending. But what they don't see is how tired you are. Not just physically tired, spiritually tired. Emotionally exhausted, worn down from the battle behind your eyes. You've been in survival mode for so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to truly live. You don't celebrate victories because you're always bracing for the next fight. You can't rest because you're used to resistance. Every time you get close to a breakthrough, something rises up to push you back. You take one step forward and 2 steps back, and it makes you question everything. You start to ask, why me? Why does it feel like I'm the one who always has to fight harder, pray longer, wait more patiently? You see people walking into their blessings like it costs nothing while you're still bleeding behind closed doors. It's not fair. And it makes you angry. It makes you weep when no one's looking. You're not just tired, you're tired of being tired. But hear me, you are not weak because you're weary. You are not broken because you've been burdened. The fact that you're still standing, even if you're trembling, means there is something powerful inside you that refuses to give up. Something that the enemy hasn't been able to touch. Something that pain hasn't been able to erase. Something that fear hasn't been able to silence. Do you know why the pressure has been so intense? Because what you're carrying is valuable. Nobody breaks into an empty house. Nobody attacks a threatless soul. The intensity of the warfare around you is a reflection of the weight of the assignment on your life. That pressure you feel, it's not punishment, it's preparation. You're being forged in the fire, shaped in the storm. God is not trying to destroy you, He's building endurance in you. He's expanding your capacity. He's teaching your soul how to withstand what others cannot. Yes, you're under pressure. Yes, it's been heavy, but pressure is what turns coal into diamonds. It's what crushes olives to produce oil. And it's what brings out the anointing from a life that's been bruised, broken, and beaten, but not buried. You may feel like you're at the end of yourself, but that's exactly where He begins. There's a point where your strength runs out, and you think it's over, but it's not over. That's just the moment where divine strength steps in. That's where purpose is born. That's where fire turns into fuel. That's when tears start watering seeds you didn't even know were planted. So let it be heavy, let it press you, let it bring you to your knees if it has to, because that posture of surrender is exactly where breakthroughs begin. And don't let the weight make you forget the promise. Don't let the darkness make you question the light. You are becoming under pressure. You are rising under pressure. You are growing through what was sent to grind you down. And one day soon you'll look back and say, I was the pressure that produced my strength. It was the pressure that birthed my purpose. It was the pressure that made me realize that what was trying to break me was actually building me. So lift your head. Wipe your face. The pressure isn't proof that you're failing, it's evidence that you're about to break through. It's easy to trust when everything is going right. It's easy to have faith when the bank account is full, when the door opens on the first knock, when the people in your life are applauding your progress. But what about when nothing makes sense? What about when the prayers seem unanswered, when the silence is deafening, and the path you thought you were supposed to be walking disappears beneath your feet? There comes a time in every journey where logic fails, where evidence vanishes, where sight betrays you, and all you're left with is trust. Not a trust that comes from comfort, but a trust that comes from conviction. A trust that screams from your soul, even though I don't understand it, I will still walk with you. Even though I can't see the outcome, I will still follow. And that's not easy. That kind of trust, that kind of surrender, it costs something. It costs your need to control. It costs your pride. It costs your desire to have all the answers neatly lined up. It takes everything in you to say, this hurts. This is confusing. But I still believe you know what you're doing. Because let's be honest, life has a way of shaking the ground beneath you. You thought you had it figured out. You made your plans, you charted your course, and then out of nowhere lost. Delay, heartbreak, betrayal. And it cuts deep because it doesn't just hurt your heart, it shakes your faith. It makes you question whether you really heard right, whether the promise was real, whether you've been chasing wind all this time. And yet there's something sacred in that space, that raw, uncertain, trembling place where trust becomes more than a word. That's where it's refined. That's where it's purified. That's where you learn to walk not by what you see, but by what you know in your spirit, deep beneath the fear and the doubt that He hasn't left you, that He hasn't failed you, that even in the silence, He is still speaking through the stillness. You might not be laughing, you might not be shouting, but that quiet, unwavering choice to keep going, that is trust. That is worship. That is strength. And it's not a weak trust that says, I'll keep going if things improve. It's a fierce, gritty, honest trust that says, even if they don't, I'm still not turning back. Because real trust is forged in the fire. It's born in the middle of unanswered questions. It grows when the storm keeps raging and you still say, peace is in the boat with me. It strengthens when people walk away, and you don't chase them, you stay anchored in the one who never moves. It matures when you stop trying to manipulate outcomes and start learning how to rest in the unseen hand that's been guiding you all along. And sometimes you have to laugh in the face of what should have broken you, not because it didn't hurt, but because you survived it, because you trusted through it. because your trust was not in the situation, not in the people, not in the outcome. It was in the one who never fails. So yes, trust is hard. It's a battle. It's a daily decision. But it's the bridge between where you are and where you're going. It's the rope that holds you steady when the waves rise. It's the anchor when the wind tries to tear you off course. And one day you'll look back at this moment, the confusion, the fear, the questions, and you'll smile through your tears. You'll say, I didn't get all the answers. I didn't see it coming. But I trusted anyway, and he didn't let me fall. That's trust, not perfection, not certainty, but the beautiful, courageous surrender of a heart that chooses to lean, even when it's trembling. There's a moment that comes in every journey where you've cried your last tear about what didn't happen, where you stop begging for something that has already passed, and you look in the mirror and realize, I still have breath in my body. I may have lost time, I may have lost people, I may have lost opportunities, but as long as I still have breath, I am not finished. You see, we talk about breakthrough like it's an event, but sometimes breakthrough is a decision. It's the moment where you decide, I'm not staying stuck here anymore. I've been weeping at the tomb of what was. I've been replaying the pain on loop, but now it's time to get up. Not because the pain is gone, not because the wound has completely healed, but because you know deep down that staying in this pit isn't serving the purpose on your life. And it's not about pretending everything is okay. This isn't about faking strength. This is about staring at what tried to bury you and rising anyway. It's about saying, yes, I lost something, but I didn't lose me. I'm still here. And if I'm still here, that means there's still something for me to do. There's a seriousness to this kind of decision, because it doesn't come with applause. It doesn't come with the music swelling in the background. It comes in silence. It comes in solitude. It comes when you're sitting with your back against the wall and you whisper to yourself, enough. I won't die here. I won't be a prisoner of what went wrong. People may never know what it costs you just to keep going. They may never understand the depth of the battle you fought just to function. But that's okay. This breakthrough isn't for them, it's for you. It's for the version of you that almost gave up. It's for the you that held on when it would have been easier to walk away. It's for the inner warrior that's been whispering, get back up, even when your body was too tired to move. Sometimes breakthrough doesn't come with the dramatic moment. Sometimes it comes in the quiet choice to take one more step, to breathe one more time, to believe again. Even just a little, even if your hands are still shaking. You might be angry, you might be broken, you might even feel numb, but underneath all of that, there's a spark, a flicker, a pulse. It's small, but it's still there, and that tiny flame is enough. That's the beginning of your breakthrough. Because when you stop waiting for the perfect condition to change and you decide to shift yourself, the atmosphere starts to respond. When your heart makes the decision to move, even if your feet don't feel strong yet, heaven starts to move with you. You don't need everything to be right to begin. You just need the courage to rise. There's laughter waiting on the other side of this moment, not because you forgot the pain, but because you made it through. There's joy waiting to be uncovered beneath the ashes. There's purpose that's been hiding behind your tears. And when you rise, when you say, this isn't the end for me, you start to reclaim what was trying to silence your voice. You weren't created to live in defeat. You weren't designed to stay buried in regret. The moment you decide to break free, the moment you say, this pain will not define me, that's when the chains begin to loosen. That's when the dust starts to shake off. That's when the oil starts flowing again. So, if you're there sitting in the ruins of what was, wondering if you'll ever feel whole again, hear me, you will. Not because time will magically fix it, but because you've decided to partner with something greater than your pain. You've decided to rise, and that decision, that sacred, powerful, trembling decision, that is your breakthrough. There's something powerful, something sacred about the moment when you finally decide enough is enough. When you wake up, not necessarily with all the answers, but with a quiet fire in your spirit that says, I will not let this situation have the last word over my life. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait for the pain to vanish. You don't wait for the applause or the validation. You decide it's time to rise. You've been lying in the ashes long enough. Ashes of disappointment. Ashes of betrayal. Ashes of what could have been, what should have been, what was taken from you too soon. And no one really knows how long you've been there because you've learned how to function while broken. You've learned how to smile while your soul bleeds in silence. You've mastered the art of hiding pain behind performance. And it's not because you're weak. It's because you've been surviving. You've been doing everything you can to hold it together, even when everything around you has been falling apart. But here, this survival is not your destiny. You were not created just to endure. You were created to overcome. There's something inside of you that refuses to stay down. Something that stirs when the world says you're finished. That whisper, that pull, that tug is not random. That's the divine call to rise, to step out of the grave clothes of your past, to shake off the dust of delay and walk forward into the very thing that once seemed impossible. And I know you've been disappointed, angry, maybe even bitter. You trusted, you believed, you gave your all, and it didn't turn out the way you hoped. You were left holding pieces of something you prayed would be whole. And maybe for a while you thought, what's the point of getting up just to be knocked down again? But deep in your spirit, there's a stirring that refuses to be silenced. A voice that won't stop saying this is not the end. You have more inside you than this moment. It doesn't sound loud, it doesn't shout. It just stays steady, persistent, refusing to let you stay in a place you've outgrown. Because you were not made to mourn forever. You were not meant to sit by the closed doors, crying for what didn't open. There's a time to grieve, yes, but there's also a time to move, to get up, to brush the dust off your faith and walk again, not because it's easy, but because you've realized that staying where you are is more dangerous than stepping into the unknown. You don't need a guarantee. You don't need the whole picture. You just need enough strength to say, I'm not staying here. You're not denying what happened. You're not pretending the pain didn't cut deep, but you're choosing not to let the pain become your prison. You're choosing to rise. And when you rise, everything shifts. The darkness that once smothered your joy begins to retreat. The heaviness that once sat on your chest starts to lift, not because everything is suddenly perfect, but because you changed. You made a decision. You declare with your movement, I still believe there's more. I still believe he's not finished with me yet. There's laughter waiting on the other side of your sorrow. Not forced laughter, not fake celebration. Real, deep, soul-cleansing joy that comes when you realize what tried to break me only built me. There's freedom waiting in your next step. There's healing on the other side of your surrender. You may not feel ready, but you are, because rising doesn't require perfection, it requires faith. And even if your faith is shaking, even if your legs are weak, if you can just stand just one more time, something begins to break in the unseen realm. Chains start falling. Doors begin to swing open. The winds shift, not because of what you lost, but because of what you chose. So go ahead, rise, not for them, not for appearances, but for you, for the promise on your life, for the purpose still buried inside your chest, for the joy that's coming, for the strength that's being born in your surrender, for the power that's been quietly waiting for your yes. You've mourned long enough, Now rise up. There is a moment in your life when you realize that not everyone who started with you will finish with you. Not everyone who clapped for you in public supported you in private. Not everyone who sat at your table broke bread with clean hands. And for some, that reality comes like a knife to the heart, because loyalty to you is not a suggestion. It's sacred. You love people deeply. You believed in them when no one else did. You gave them access to parts of you that no one else had seen. You let them into your process, your private world, your struggles, your secrets. And you didn't do it because you were naive. You did it because your heart is loyal. You see the best in people. You hold on to hope when everyone else has walked away. But sometimes the very people you fought for, stood by, prayed for, they're the ones who turned on you. And when that betrayal hits, it doesn't just sting, it crushes, it confuses you to your core. You sit there questioning yourself. Did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? You replay conversations. You remember how you covered them when they were exposed, how you defended them when others attacked, and yet when it came time for them to cover you, protect you, defend you, they went silent. Or worse, they joined the opposition. There's a righteous anger that rises up in moments like that, not just because you were hurt, but because you were honest. You showed up with integrity. You gave without expecting return. You didn't manipulate. You didn't use, you didn't keep score, and they still threw you aside like your presence was disposable. That kind of wound doesn't heal with time alone. It takes wisdom, it takes perspective. And most of all, it takes divine revelation to understand what's really going on. Because here's the truth, some people were never assigned to your destiny. They were assigned to your development. They were there to teach you, not to stay. The betrayal wasn't always about you, it was about what was in them. Some people couldn't handle your growth. Your light exposed their insecurities. Your elevation stirred their envy, and instead of celebrating your rising, they tried to sabotage it. And as painful as it is, you have to thank God for every person who left you. You have to stop begging people to stay who were never meant to walk where you're going. You have to understand that rejection is redirection. That betrayal was the blessing. That silence was protection. That closed door was His mercy keeping you from what would have poisoned your future. Let it hurt. Let it break. But don't let it bitter you. Don't let it change your pure heart. Don't let it steal your softness. Because one of the greatest victories is when you can say, they did me wrong, but I didn't let it make me wrong. That's strength. That's character. That's divine resilience. And you know what? Laugh again. Not because what happened was funny, but because it didn't finish you. It didn't stop the promise. It didn't derail the destiny. You're still breathing, still becoming, still rising. And they're going to see everyone who thought you were finished, everyone who walked away mid-story. They'll witness what happens when someone refuses to let betrayal be their burial. So forgive, not for them, but for you. Release it not because they deserve peace, but because you do. Walk away from the offense. Let go of the scorekeeping. You don't need revenge when you're walking in victory. You don't need to fight petty battles when you've got a kingdom calling. The separation was necessary. The breaking was for your making. And even though it felt like you were abandoned, you were actually being aligned, set apart, positioned, elevated. They left, but so did the weight, so did the distraction, so did the doubt. And now you're free to step into what's next without dragging dead weight behind you. You're lighter now, sharper, wiser, stronger, and most of all, you're still you. Heart intact, faith still burning, love still flowing. So stand tall, and don't look back. The betrayal was brutal, yes, but it was also the beginning of the breakthrough. There comes a moment in your life where you have to decide, will I stay stuck or will I keep moving forward? No matter the obstacles that have been thrown in my path. Because the truth is, life is full of challenges. Sometimes it feels like the universe is conspiring against you, throwing everything it can to knock you down, to derail your progress, to test how far you'll go before you break. And it's easy, so easy, to stay in the place of hurt, to stay in the place of defeat, to stay in the place of disappointment. But there's something inside of you, a fire, a spark, a voice that refuses to let you remain where you are. It refuses to let you shrink back into the shadows of your past mistakes, your past regrets, your past failures. It stirs up within you this holy dissatisfaction with staying down. You know you were made for more than this. You know you were created for greater things. Even when your heart aches, even when your hands are trembling with uncertainty, that voice pushes you to get back up, to keep moving forward, not because you have all the answers, but because you have something greater driving you. And here's the thing, you will face opposition. You will face rejection. You will face the cold, hard stares of those who doubt you, those who want to see you fail, those who think you've reached your peak. But hear me, they don't know you like you know you. They don't know the strength that's been forged in your trials. They don't know the perseverance that's been built in the silence when everyone else walked away. They don't know the tears you've cried in the dark, the nights you've stayed up questioning your worth, wondering if the struggle would ever end. They don't know how many times you've been knocked down and still stood up, bruised but unbroken. There's a reason why you're still standing today. And it's not because you're invincible. It's because you have something deep inside you, something unshakable. You have resilience. You have grit. You have the will to win that won't be drowned by the noise of failure. And when the world tries to tell you that you're done, you dig your heels in deeper, you rise up stronger, and you let them see your comeback. But here's where the real strength lies. It's not in simply getting up, not in just pushing through the pain. It's in deciding that your purpose is bigger than your pain. It's in choosing to trust the process even when the outcome is unclear. It's in deciding that you won't be defined by what happened to you, but by how you respond to what happens. This journey, your journey, isn't going to be easy. There will be people who don't believe in you, people who turn their backs on you, people who mock you for daring to rise. And it's easy to become consumed by their opinions, to let their negativity steal your peace, to let their doubt drown out your belief. But let me remind you of something crucial. You are not called to be understood by everyone. You are not called to get the approval of everyone. Sometimes the only approval you need is your own. You have to remind yourself that you are on a mission that is bigger than anyone's limited perspective of you. There's joy in this moment too, though. A joy that comes from knowing you've survived what others thought would destroy you. A joy that comes from the understanding that everything you've been through, the rejection, the loss, the pain, was not in vain. It was building you, it was refining you, it was molding you into the person who can handle what's coming next. You see, the next level of your life, the next level of your destiny is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who've walked through fire and come out unscathed. Those who face the storm and learn to dance in the rain. And here's the beauty, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know every step of the journey before you begin. You just have to be willing to take the next step even when it feels like you're walking blind. You just have to keep your eyes on what's ahead, not on what's behind. You have to believe that the best is still ahead, even if you can't see the way yet. So yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, there will be moments when you want to quit. But there is something in you that has a power that doesn't give up. There is a well of strength within you that refuses to bow to defeat. And when you keep moving forward, when you keep pushing past the pain, when you keep pressing toward what you know is waiting for you on the other side, that is where breakthrough happens. It's not in the moments of comfort. It's not in the moments of ease. Breakthrough is born in the struggle. It's forged in the fire. It's birthed when you refuse to let go, when you refuse to let your circumstances define you. Keep going, even when the road is hard, even when it's messy, even when you feel like giving up. Keep moving forward. The best is yet to come. You've been told that the past is behind you, that what's done is done, and yet the weight of what's been left unresolved, what's been left unsaid, unfinished hangs over your every step. It's not that you haven't tried to move forward. It's not that you haven't wanted to leave behind the brokenness, the regrets, the mistakes. But something about the past keeps calling you back, keeps tugging at your heart, keeps reminding you of where you've been, and sometimes it feels like you can't escape it. You've been through moments where it feels like you're standing in front of an open grave, staring at everything that was and thinking, what's left for me? You've questioned if the past will forever define you, if your mistakes will forever haunt you, if the people who walked out of your life have left you unworthy of the future that's ahead. And you've heard all the cliches, it's over, let it go, move on. But somehow, it feels like the echoes of the past are louder than those empty words. But let me tell you something, there is power in the ability to release the past. Not because it's easy, not because it's fair, but because when you hold on to what's behind you, it anchors you to places you no longer belong. It holds you captive to who you used to be, rather than who you are becoming. And yes, the wounds were real. Yes, the pain was deep. Yes, the betrayal stung. Yes, you lost things that mattered. But the greatest tragedy is not what you lost, it's the idea that you cannot rise from it, that you cannot rise higher, that you cannot rise at all. When you choose to move forward, it's not because you've forgotten. It's not because the hurt never mattered. It's not because it didn't leave a scar in your heart. No, you move forward because you refuse to let that scar be the definition of your story. That scar will never define you. The moments that try to break you will never have the final say. You get to choose. You get to declare, I am not my past, I am not my mistakes, I am not my failures. I am something more, I am something better. I am a person who has risen from the rubble, who has looked in the mirror and said, I am still worthy. The truth is, the past will try to convince you that it has the final word, that the mistakes you made, the wrong choices you've carried, the failures you've experienced will always hold you back. It will make you feel like you are forever trapped in its shadow, but that's where the breakthrough begins, when you stop allowing your past to dictate your future. When you stop giving the past permission to keep you shackled in its prison. It's when you realize that you can leave it behind, not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. Your future, your destiny, your life, they matter more than anything that's already been done. Let the past have its place, but do not let it take your present. Do not let it steal your future. You are not defined by the mistakes you've made. You are not bound by the things that didn't go as planned. You are not the sum of your failures. You are the sum of your choices to rise again. You are the sum of your strength to move forward, to push through, to reach beyond the limits that life has tried to impose on you. When you choose to release the past, you don't do it from a place of weakness. You do it from a place of power. You do it because you understand that there is nothing to gain by holding on to what's already gone. You understand that if you keep clutching at those old wounds, you will never have room for the healing that's meant to come. If you keep your hands tied to the past, how can you ever embrace the future that's waiting for you? It's a choice to leave the chains of regret, shame, and guilt behind. You are not perfect, and that's okay. You are human. You are a person who has stumbled, who has fallen, who has made choices they regret, but you are also a person who has learned, who has grown, who has refused to let the past hold you down. There is joy in this decision, real joy. The joy that comes from stepping into the freedom that only comes when you stop being a prisoner to what has already happened. The joy that comes from knowing you can finally breathe again, from knowing that you no longer have to carry the weight of everything that has tried to break you. It's the joy of realizing that every single day is a new opportunity. It's the joy of seeing that the pieces of your brokenness are not wasted. They are the foundation of your strength. The joy of realizing that the future holds more for you than the past ever could. So stand up. Stand up from the ground that has held you down for too long. Stand up from the shame, from the regret, from the guilt that has kept you anchored to things that were never meant to follow you into the future. Stand up and walk into the new thing that's waiting for you. Walk into the peace, the joy, the strength that you have been built for. You are not your past. Your past does not have to define you. Let it go, and let what's ahead become the best part of your story. You are free. You are whole. And the best part of your life is still ahead of you.